I'm Randy Mosher. I'm here in Floripa in beautiful Brazil, and we're at the homebrewing conference, having a really good time so far, and I'm going to taste some beer. So this is John Wayne from Doom, and this is an American IPA style beer, so it's going to be an ale. It's going to have a lot of hops. It's going to have a ton of character. It should be quite delicious. So let's just have a look here. Pour it for a nice head. Ah, hops. Very fruity. Smells a little like apricots, peaches, that kind of fruit. Creamy, very assertive. It's like drinking a big wine in terms of intensity, so lots of flavor. Malty up front, nice slightly toasted caramel, sort of a little bit like crackers, caramely, crackery. And then of course the hops. Hops. Nicely balanced though. It's fairly bitter, but the bitterness is really crisp and refreshing, beautifully refreshing and nice, and balanced, just balanced by that sort of slightly caramely, bready kind of flavor. Quite lovely. I have a pretty good job. I'm here in Brazil, in Floripa, tasting some beers. This is another beer from Doom. This is Petroleum. And this is, well, you can tell why they named it Petroleum, because it really looks like petroleum. This is an imperial stout. It's a type of beer that has been brewed for 300 years or so in England, and it's called imperial because they actually used to sell it to the imperial court in Russia. The Russians really love these strong, dark beers. So these should be, well, it should be very roasty, like nice fresh coffee. Always like that sort of flavors in these kinds of beers. Let's have a smell. Ah, yes. Definitely cocoa, coffee sorts of aromas from the roasted malts, which are really roasted just the same way that you would roast coffee or chocolate. It's the same kind of flavors exactly, and a lot of them. Very chocolatey. Oh yeah, it's like a coffee liqueur. It's very rich, very creamy, beautiful coffee, chocolate, mocha kind of finish, kind of character to it. Super creamy. Not really too sweet, just a bit of sweetness up front, and then it gets dry. Definitely a good winter beer. Good beer to drink by the fire. So here I am, still in Floripa, tasting some more beers. This is Junca beer from Andre Junqueira from Curitiba. And he's this lovely beer called a Double Vienna. And let's just have a taste. So this is modeled after the famous Vienna beer, which in Europe eventually became the Oktoberfest beer. So you may have heard of Oktoberfest beer. Vienna is just another word for that. It's brewed with a particular type of malt called a Vienna malt and some other malts. So a really nice, very pleasant, light caramel aroma to this beer. Just slight hints of toastiness. Almost like a cookie baking, which, you know, we all like cookies. And there's some hops in this beer too, so it's nice to see people in the New World and the Americas kind of reinventing lagers, because they've gotten a bit boring in Europe, I think. And so it's nice to see people doing some different things with them. And so this is, because it's a double, it's slightly stronger. A little bit higher in alcohol. Great hop nose on this beer. Just a bit fruity from the hops, almost like peaches or apricots again. Very malty up front, kind of like a dry carameliness, and again a hint of that sort of cookie kind of flavor, toast baking cookies sort of smell, and a nice pleasant bitterness, which balances out all that rich caramely flavor. So the beer has a really great balance. Mild flavor, probably would be great with seafood. We're having some grilled oysters and shrimp and some other things today, so I'm looking forward to tasting this beer with some full flavored seafood. Should be really perfect with that. All right, beer number 4 in Floripa from Andres Junquera, Junca Beer. This is his wheat wine. This is a 10% alcohol beer made with wheat in addition to barley malt. Let's see if we can get some head going here. Beautiful, I can smell it from here. There we go. Smells, I get oranges, I get a little honey, certainly some caramelized malt, very kind of creamy, delicate, malty flavors. It's a year old, so this beer is, what, 10% alcohol? 10% alcohol, so this is earns its name wheat wine. You can taste the alcohol. It comes across a little bit like something like a sweet sherry. It has a lot of sweetness to it. It has sort of that similar kind of nutty flavor that sherry sometimes has, and a bit of what we call a kind of a flavor of leather that you find in beers that have aged a little bit. So it has this rich kind of complexity. And it's fairly bitter too, but the bitterness is, you don't notice until kind of the end of the taste when all that other stuff goes away. So it starts out sweet, then you have this sort of rich, leathery kind of middle, sherry-like, and then it finishes dry because of the bitterness. It'd be a beer to eat with creme brulee or some dessert that's like very, very rich. Maybe a fruit creme brulee, you know, something delicate but intense in terms of fat and richness and so on. So, beautiful beer. I recommend it.
Yeah.
So this is my 3rd trip to Brazil, and so far it's been very exciting every time. You have a fantastic culture here. You have really exciting people. There is so much passion here in the beer business that even though things are very small right now, and it's difficult, it's a difficult place to sell beer, I think that I'm looking forward to great things. I've already seen quite a bit of change, even just from last year. There's a lot more people who are further along with their commercial plans. I'm seeing a lot more variety in the beers. The beers that I am tasting are very nicely put together. I see a lot of creativity. I see a lot of desire to invent things. I see a big desire to come up with beers that are uniquely Brazilian, somehow inspired by traditions in Germany or the US or England, but also to make things that feel at home here and come from the culture, from the land, from the ideas that are here. And I look forward, very much forward to some of those, to tasting some of those beers in the future as things develop further. So I see great things for Brazil in the near future, the very near future. Viva la revolution! Beautiful.